everyone, and welcome to day 35 of our RV-10 build. Today we are finishing work on the horizontal stabilizer. Yay! And then later we end up jumping forward into the tailcone section and getting started on that one. Before we get going on the build, I did want to take a quick moment to say thank you to Timothy B and Bill D out there. Thank you so much, guys, for sending in those referral forms to Vans when you purchased your empennage kit. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy your build as much as we have. If any of you out there have been enjoying my videos and you are thinking of purchasing your empennage kit for any one of the models that they have, please consider going into the description down below and clicking on the link I have for the referral form. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but Vans will send me $100 as a thank you, and I would certainly appreciate it knowing that you guys are enjoying the videos. Also, a quick reminder, I have a giveaway going on Instagram, and there's a couple more days left, so if you're on there and you want to try and enter the giveaway, make sure to go click on the link down below and check that out. And in case you missed it, I was part of the Spirit of Aviation Week last week that the EAA put on. They did a really nice little interview with me, and I will put the link for that down below in case any of you are interested in seeing it. It was really fun, and I was really excited to have been asked to participate. Back to the build. So we're starting out here today where we have to attach all of the in-spar ribs to the rear spar. And it says there on 813 in step 6, it specifically says to help make sure that there's clearance when the elevators are installed, to make sure that you put the manufactured head flat on the spar. When we got to this point, I got a little concerned. Looking back at 8.2 step 5, where you attach the rear spar doubler to the rear spar, it didn't say anything there about directionality, about which way to put the rivets in. And now I know and am more aware, because we've been doing this for so long, that there's a general rule of thumb that says to put the shop head of the rivet on the thickest piece if you're riveting two different thickness pieces together. If I had done it that way, it would have had the shop head on the side with the doubler and not on the spar side, but at the time, just seemed to forget, didn't do it, just thought about riveting it, got it together. So on ours, we have all of the shop heads where the doubler is attached to the rear spar on the aft side instead of on the forward side. I don't know if this is going to be a problem with the clearance. I mean, again, it wasn't anything that was mentioned there back on 8.2 step 5. But it was very distinctly mentioned there on 8.13 in step 6. But just a heads up, I guess, that if you are going to be doing yours and you get to this point, or actually when you get to 8.2, you might just make sure to keep that in mind. I don't know if it's actually going to be a problem yet or not, but if you just want to remove all doubt, when you get to your horizontal stabilizer, make sure to maybe think about that for 8.2 to put the rivets in with the manufactured head on the spar side, so the shop head's on the doubler side. Moving forward, when it came time to rivet the skins to the spar, we had all the clecos in there, and rather than sit and try to rivet one with a squeezer and then put another rivet in and then rivet it and then put another rivet in, I went and just dropped the rivets into every single one of the holes. It's laying down flat now anyway. It's not in the stand. And I found it just to be much easier to go all at once and put rivets in every single one of the open holes that didn't have a cleco in it. And then I could just really quickly move down the line with the rivet, with the pneumatic squeezer to rivet everything without having to stop and put it down every time I put a rivet in. So just a little thing that seemed to make it a little bit more efficient with our time. It was a little tight getting the rivets for the skin to the rear spar flange around the 8 hinge brackets that are there on the rear spar assembly. It wasn't impossible, but you have the little manufactured head sitting almost right above the rivet hole, the manufactured head of the rivet that's holding the hinge bracket to the spar. And so it wasn't impossible. It just kind of required a little finesse to make sure you had the ram and the yoke positioned just right with the pneumatic squeezer to not try and scrape against that manufactured head. I'm wondering now, looking back, if maybe our thin nose yoke would have been a little bit more helpful with that wide rivet set on, if we use like the wide flat rivet set on the ram and then the thin nose yoke, if that would have perhaps made it a little bit easier to sort of squeeze in underneath the manufactured head of that rivet there for the hinge bracket to the rear spar. But we didn't have it at the time, so we just used what we had, and it ended up working out okay. Again, it was just a little bit tight, a little bit tricky. You just don't want to smash that manufactured head there that's holding your hinge brackets into their spar. So on step 5 on 813, the book had called for AN 470 AD 4-6 rivets on the two HS 1004 in-spar ribs in the center of the horizontal stabilizer. So that's the two innermost for either side, the ones that are slightly at an angle that you can see there in the middle. And I went ahead and I took one of those rivets, the 4-6s that it called for, but when I put it in and I installed it with the squeezer, it didn't seem right. So when I took the rivet gauge out, it was too short and it didn't fill the hole there for the diameter, the proper diameter for the rivet either. So it was too short and it was too skinny. You know, I looked around online trying to see if there's any input from other people. I went and read back through section 5 of the instructions again, where it goes over all the different parts and about riveting. And Tyler and I decided that we wanted to go ahead and just try and up it one size and put some 4-7s in there instead of 4-6s. And when I put the first 4-7 in, the shop head was perfect. We opted to go ahead and just use the 4-7s then in all of them. Normally, if you have it where it's too long, it's going to flop over and the rivet's not going to set properly. But fortunately, this seemed to work out just fine. It was perfect and the shop heads looked great. So because of that, we went ahead and made all of them with 4-7s, and we just left the single 4-6 in there where it was.
How do you feel about being the last 15 minutes of the snap? We're done with all the snaps.
Woo!
Expect what?
Except for these. You married me. And what does it say about you? Takes away the new one, mister.
Not enough due diligence, I'm afraid. You didn't expect that one, did you?
Not enough due diligence. I'm calling mom.
After getting all of the rivets installed into the skins and connecting the skins to the spars, that's the final step. And it was a little bit hard to believe. It was really exciting because, again, this is such a huge piece. Finally seeing this all put together was really, really, really cool. I was able to get my really good friend Sonia to come over, and she very kindly took some great pictures of us with the completed horizontal stabilizer. It was really nice to have those photos too to send to our family and our friends to help also give them a really good idea about exactly the size of this project that we're working on. I really love these photos. I think they're great. After finishing the horizontal stabilizer, we decided to skip ahead to the tail cone and save the elevators and trim tabs for last. I think we'd read about some people maybe having a little bit of difficulty with the trim tabs, and so we said let's just move ahead and try the tail cone first and get that out of the way because we can always jump back. So we went ahead to skip to section 10, which is the tail cone. And before we got started with everything, this was a really good time to try and clean up the garage a bit while there was no large skins or parts in there. Once all the pieces for that horizontal stabilizer were out of the way, it was pretty empty in there. So good chance to just kind of, I went and vacuumed up some of the debris that was everywhere, and we kind of cleaned off the table, put some stuff away to help get it back to a clean slate for starting the Tailcone. When we went ahead and got started on the Tailcone there on 10.2, we had to skip part of step 1 because you have to use a tap to, in order to be able to screw the bolt in for the tie down to that tie down bracket, and I didn't have a tap set at that point. So I'll get into the tap and everything later when we do actually tap it, but I will put a link down below, at least for right now. I did find a pretty good set on Amazon for pretty cheap. I'll put a link down below if you guys need to get one, because that wasn't something that was part of our kit that we got for the RV-10, but you do need it, not just for this tie down, but you also have then the 2 tie downs on the wing, so you're gonna have to do the same thing again there. The rest of step 1 calls for marking and then trimming down the piece that's been given to you to create the F1012E tie-down bar, and that's simple, easy enough. But when you get to step 3, it's where it got a little bit interesting just because of the shape of it and trying to figure out the best way to secure it, to draw the guidelines that had to get put on there to help match drill it to the F1012A and B bulkheads. And so what I found to first draw the guidelines that was really helpful because of the shape of it was to just get out our vise and set it up there on the corner of the table, and then gently squeeze the tie down bar in the vise so that it couldn't move and it couldn't wiggle while I was trying to draw all of the guidelines there. It worked out really nice and easy, turned out great. And then when I had to do the match drilling for it, I found 2 thin pieces of 2x4 that I happen to have, and I set one on each side there on the workbench, and I clamped the whole assembly that I was going to be match drilling, the F1012A, the F1012B bulkheads, and that tie-down bar, with the tie-down bar squished in between the 2 wood blocks, and then clamped everything together. What was kind of cool about doing this is that each time I drilled a hole, I could then stick a cleco through the hole I just drilled, and it would hold that whole assembly together to that wood block. So it just provided extra resistance, I guess, to, it wasn't going to be moving or wiggling while you were trying to do the rest of the drilling. So it just worked out really nice. Again, the vise for holding it steady so it didn't wobble while I was trying to do the guidelines, and then just using those 2 little wood blocks to secure it while I was trying to do all the match drilling. But it's an interesting piece, and again, this is one of 3, so you'll come across this again in the wing kit later on. Another quick little thing to point out is that on 10-2 step 3, I got a little bit confused because it says to match drill the 4 3/32 inch holes with a number 30 drill, and I was a little confused because the 3/32 inch normally matches up with the number 40 drills, and then the 1/8 inch matches up with the number 30. But I did go ahead and flip forward and found the rivet guide on 10-18, and just to verify for my own peace of mind that yes, in fact, it is calling for AN 42680-4-5 rivets, so that will be the 1/8 inch rivets, so that is for the number 30 drill. So don't let that freak you out. It is correct. A quick little reminder before I sign off. Tomorrow is the last day of my Instagram giveaway, so be sure to go and check that out at instagram.com/plain.lady for more details and to enter the giveaway. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so for more videos like these and to follow along as we build our RV-10.